Let's start with the demo. Here we are at the landing page of login page of DataSheet. I'm just clicking the sign in. Here is the landing page. So the flow of this application is such that first of all, a user creates a product and adds unit operation and variables to the product. Then for those variables, specification is added. Then patches are added for the product, and based on the specification and batches, the data is entered. Once the data is entered, it is viewed in the tabular form or can be seen as a control chart. So let me start one by one. From the first step, this is the add product form. Here user can add a name to the product. It's a mandatory field. Then user can add unit operations. Unit operations can be multiple, and variables can also be added. So I will just add some test data here just to make more understanding. Unit one. Now variable can be v1 or just giving some random names. Unit is the unit by which that variable is measured. Parameter class can be defined by user. I'll just mention CL1 for now. So variable can be of two types. One is discrete, another is timeline. A discrete variable is that for which there will be a single value as a outcome, as an observation. A timeline variable is something for which there will be multiple observations based on the different time points. Okay, response for a variable can be of three types. It can be a single value, multiple value, or a drop down. Single value response is when that variable has a single numeric value observation. Multiple value scenario is when that particular variable can have multiple labels, level 1, level 2, level 3, and can have individual observed values for those labels. A drop-down type of variable is where there is a fixed set of possible outcomes and user has to select one out of the options. Once I add, let's say, a single type, I can click on this add variable, or I can click on this add unit. Let's say if I click add variable, I will be able to add more variables, and just that way I can click, go on and as many variable I want to add under this unit operation. Okay, once the variables are added, this button gets activated and I can add a new unit operation under this product. Okay, so to make it quick, I will just take an example of a variable product which is already there in the system. Here you can see this is the product name, this is description, and VCD here is the unit operation. It has two variables, VCD and probability. Here are the types and response type for this variables. Similarly, we have another unit operation with named capture, and it has three variables, and these three variables have their own variable type and response types. Okay. Now I will go to the specification for this same product. We will follow this product so that we understand end to end how it works. So this is that product. Now edit specification. Here user adds the acceptance criteria and other related details. So this VCD here is a single valued timeline variable, single response timeline. So we have a acceptance criteria, 20 being the minimum outcome and 90 being the maximum. The result between this will be considered as a positive or a happy or a pass case. Value below 20 or above 90 will be considered as a fail scenario. Time points are also mentioned during the specification. This is only for the scenario when the variable is a timeline variable. Okay, as you can see, the time points here are 0 minute, 12 minute, 24 minute, and so on. And user can give individual time point a name of their own choice. So here we see T0, T12, T24, and so on. The names are given. Then there is another variable, viability. This is also a single value timeline variable, and similar specification is added. Now there is a different second unit operation here. For this variable, we see only the acceptance criteria. There is no time points because it was a single value scenario. Here there won't be, it's a discrete, actually it's a discrete variable, and it won't have different values for different time points. Going to the next variable, it's a multiple value discrete variable. So you see here batch 1, batch 2, batch 3 will be the labels, and here are the individual acceptance criteria for individual batch or individual labels. But there is no time point because it's a discrete variable. Similarly, here we see there are peak 1 and peak 2, two labels under the same variable and no time point because it is a discrete variable. Okay, once the specification is added, user needs to create a batch because a particular product, as you can see here, can have multiple batches, right? You see here for this individual product, we have so many batches. Okay, so because I mean there can be batches, there can be multiple iterations of observation that is taken for this individual product and its batches. So I will show the form to add a batch. Here user clicks on the add batch. We select the product. We add a batch ID. I can just batch 1, 2, 3. I can just name it based on my criteria. Location and description are optional fields. Once I click the submit button, the batch will be created and it will be populated here just like this. Okay. Now, based on the product specification and the batches, we can now enter the data. Okay, so for this product, if I want to enter the data for any of its batches, I will just click on that data. Here, I will have to select for which particular batch I want to add the data. I will just select one of it. As you can see, for this batch, the data is already entered for most of the fields. We'll go through it. So the view here is leftmost column is unit operation. Then we have variable names. Then we have the acceptance criteria for this variable. Similarly here. Then we have what unit this variable follows. Then if it is a timeline variable, we will have different time points and we will have fields associated with those different time points. For observed value. For individual observed value, there can be attachments uploaded. User can upload up to 5 attachments for a single individual observed value. Also, user has an option to add the date and time when this observation was taken. So user can go ahead and add the actual real world time point when the observation was taken. Here you see a scenario where it is a single value discrete variable. So there is no time point like it was here. There are no time points and there is a single value. Here you see a discrete value with multiple discrete variable with multiple values response. So you see 3 observations for a single scenario. Okay. Now, this is the enter data part. Once the user enters the data, they click on submit button here in the bottom. Okay, here the submit button. Okay. Afterwards, we can see the data in a tabular form here. So for this particular product, if I go and if I want to see data entered for one of its batches, I can go to this one. We just saw that batch only. Here you see the view is same, but it is not editable now. It is a view scenario. It's not an edit scenario. So we can just see the values here in a single screen. There is one more feature we have in view data, which is compare data. If I click on this option, what I can do here is I can select a particular variable and I can select multiple batches that I want to compare the values for that variable for these batches. And you can see for the different time points for VCD, we see the observed value for these batches. Okay, so it's a good view for comparing in the tabular format. Now, this was the view data. Now, if I go to the process control chart, and I have to select the right filters here. So I have selected the timeline variable for which I want to prepare the chart. Then I have selected the product. Then I'm selecting the batches. So I can select multiple, I can select all, or I can select individual batch that I want to compare for. I can select which unit operation I want to see and which variable for that unit operation. And if it is a timeline scenario, as we have selected in the first filter, I can select multiple time points, or I can select all the time points. Clicking on the view chart, and the chart is here. We can see this is the lower limit and upper limit according to the acceptance criteria, and we have individual lines prepared for individual batches for different time points. All right. Similarly, we can tweak the filters, and we can see multiple charts. Okay. Now the change log screen. This is a very simple screen. User can add. So let's say if there is a scenario where user has entered some data and they want to change it later, and they want to keep a record of this change, they can go ahead and add the details. They can upload the justification documents and submit this as a change log request. All right, I hope the flow is clear and understandable. Thank you.